Hello and welcome back to Password. Uh, don't really know what to say, so we'll just start reading, right? Things are getting heavy. It's getting emotional. It's great. No, do I have my drink with me? Oh, there it is. Okay, literally right next to my foot, and did not. Whatever. Despite the plan to head over to the rec room, we headed downstairs for a snack first, with the idea that we'd be free to spend the rest of the afternoon without needing to break for lunch. Come on. This seems to be going as well as it did for Tyson yesterday. When we arrived to meet up with the other two, we walked in on what appeared to be Haas trying to convince Sal about something. You're here. Good. You can help me convince Sal to... The moment Haas started talking, Ty was on his way forward, quieting up with his trademark move of putting his hand around Haas's face, his face on whatever. Leave him alone, Top Cat. Are you feeling better, Dave? Yeah, I'm good. Then I'm glad. Dude, Sal said that the magical girl genre and Sentai genre were the same thing. I just had to correct him on it. Haas, baby. Baby, please. As someone who watches Precure and Super Sentai, they're kind of the same. Or at least, okay, specifically the magical warrior subgenre of magical girl, which was always kind of just built from the ground up to be Super Sentai for girls. So, you know. They are separate genres. For sure. But they borrow so much from one another. But I get it, Haas. I do. Does it really matter that much? Haas starts making frustrated sounds, playing up how taken aback he was in the moment. I recognize it from the other times he'd done it to get a rise out of Orlando, but the faint smirk he flashed me when I caught his eye knew he wasn't being serious. I took a moment to get myself comfortable and just enjoy a moment where the people around me were happy. It was nice, slowly easing back into things as if things were going back to normal. So, what are we watching? Did we have a movie in mind, or... We have options. Plenty of anime. Honestly, surprising just how much there is on this, there is in the way of genre coverage. Damn, I just can't. It's gonna be one of those nights, isn't it, where I just can't read. If you're rich, why not just download or buy everything just because you can, right? I don't know. That seems kind of waste, doesn't it? Dave has a point. Unless they have a boat hidden somewhere. Rich people have boats. We're on a mountain, though. They probably just have it stashed somewhere that it actually gets some use. Pretty far from the ocean, but maybe there's a lake nearby. A lake wouldn't be bad to go for a swim or go fishing. Well, there's the river. That's great and all, but this isn't helping us decide what anime we're watching. We're gonna watch Dynazenon. Come on. It's the best thing to come out in years. Everyone ignored it because there's a giant robot on the cover. Come on. Or the currently airing Sunny Boy. I'd be okay with that. Let's do that. It's so good. We're not watching anime, Haas. Dave. We were always watching anime. Why not? 'Cause he said so, I'm guessing. I kind of want to watch that one movie that... Wait, was it 1 or 2? I don't know what movie you're talking about. Any ideas, Tyson? No clue. Come on, you know the one. The one that's like with all the people and they go and do the thing with the ring. If we're watching that one, should I go get Roswell? Why Roswell? No, I don't think he means that one, Haas. I don't think Dave is talking about anything with wrestling involving either. No, come on, Ty. We've watched this one before. His blank expression quickly made me realize that he had absolutely no clue what I was talking about. Can I have a clue? It's not the space one. The space? The fuck did they make a space movie with a ring in it? I thought that was a video game. No, there were things are God. What did they do with the ring in the movie? Volcano? Yeah, Volcano. I want to watch that movie. Oh? There's something like 3 movies, but that's going to eat up literally the rest of the day if we watch all of them in order. Is that a problem? So long as we don't tell Dean and Orlando. They both love those movies. We could just wait until we're all ready to watch a movie together and watch them then. Fuck it. If they like those movies, then they've seen them before. They can watch them in their own time. You sure that's okay? Worst case scenario, we could just blame you if they get all uppity about missing out on the movie. They had their chance. Wow, rude. But if I'm getting blamed for watching something I want to watch, then we better watch it. Alternatively, we could just watch something else. Well, it's either this or anime, so... I shall load up the anime then. We're not watching anime. The rest of the, Oh, sorry, just adjusting my microphone. For the rest of the afternoon, we enjoyed watching movies. After the first, we took a break for snacks before getting right back to it. But then we were right back to it soon after, and before I knew it, we were done. We made our way to dinner, and as I sat down, I started to worry. Would the others understand? Would I be brushed off as crazy? If they believed me only a little bit about what the vote had been doing, then I had a chance. But it felt so much more dire than that. I was scared. For myself. For my friends. For whatever this mess we found ourselves in is meant. I looked across to Oswin, who, along with Benson, ate with the rest of us. He was watching me quietly, almost waiting for me to make the first move. I'd gotten through half of my own meal before stopping, instead playing with what remains with my spoon. Hey, everyone. The moment I spoke, Oswin nodded slowly, setting his cutlery aside and mumbling something to Benson. The otter nodded back and headed into the kitchen, and out of a sigh to do whatever it was that he was asked of him. What's the matter, Dave? Are you not hungry? Does it taste bad? I could make you something else if you want. No, it's not that. Just, I need to tell you all about something. Is it about, No. All eyes turned to Oswin as he answered me a moment after Orlando asked. It's something that led everything that transpired a couple days ago. A cascade of issues that ultimately started with my invention of something that I may fear yet come to pass. Well, that sounds ominous. If incredibly troubling given what had happened to Dave. I made myself smaller in my chair and let Oswin lead the conversation. He made the offer, and if it saves me the task of explaining something I barely understood, I was going to let him. Wait, so the reason Dave went into the woods was because of you? In essence, yes. Although that's radically overestimating my direct role in things. You were the one that said that this is your fault, I'm aware. I looked to Orlando, who seemed to quietly put something together, and his scales paled just enough to be noticeable. Don't tell me the thing that you stopped from happening. Before you go assuming the worst, I'll tell you now that the details specifically around what I stopped happening are unknown to me. But you just said... Specifically. You said specifically. You know some of the details. Yes, I do. Oswin looked to me, and I looked back at him. There was a moment where I thought he was going to continue taking charge in the conversation, but it faded the longer he remained silent. The longer he didn't elaborate, the more my friends turned to me as that's where he was looking. I breathed in and spoke quietly, my voice quivering as I struggled to put it to words. Marked for death. Closing my eyes, I heard the phrase echoing around in my head. I couldn't place why or how it seemed to be echoing around me, but it was, reminding me of things I'd seen. Tyson, mutilated by something outside. Solidarity. Benson, shot in the dining room. Betrayal. Dean or something was going on. Sal had an axe, and he was covered in blood. Then I opened my eyes, and I was breathing hard. But then, who could... Dave, you doing all right? Huh? What? How long did I zone out for? You zoned out? I looked to Oswin, who seemed amused by something, but I shook my head. Just okay. Everyone knows I've been messing with the Vault, right? Right. Well, after the first time, Oswin contacted me through a radio thing, right? Close enough, yes. But why? Oswin said that one of us was going to die, right? He said what? Eyes were on Oswin again, and he said he seemed completely unaffected by the looks he was getting. Dave speaks truth, although he's not completely on the mark. Specifically, I told him that any number of you are at risk, not just one of you. The fuck? From what? Or who? Oswin shrugged. You better start talking. I am. More importantly, I'm relaying what information I do know. Anything else, well, you're lying. Pardon? You do know more, but for whatever reason, you're just not saying it. You're right in that I know many things. Things that are, quite frankly, none of your business. You can't expect to just drop that bombshell and have them be alright with it, Oswin. My concern is not what my approval rating is, but to relay what truth of the matter is. Which, I'll remind you, is that your lives are in danger. Fuck it, we'll just leave then. No! We can't. What? Why the fuck not? I explained to Dave at the time that leaving only would ensure the death of one of you, not by my hand, mind you. I gave him the choice, and he decided to stay. And the phone reception being cut, who can say? Not my doing in any case. So what, we just have to buy that? Fuck you! Dave almost died. I'm aware of that. But he didn't, large in part to Benson. And no help from you, I'll add. And who do you think asked Benson to keep an eye out? But why me? Is Dave that much in danger? You tell me, Master Noble. Well, I don't want him in danger. I've been doing everything I can to try and keep him safe. Could you say the same about your father? What's he got to do with Dave's safety? I can't say I like him very much. Acquainted already, are we, Sal? We've met, but why Dave? Dave is more collateral damage waiting to happen. What Orlando's father is actually after would be the vault downstairs. Why would a banker want a vault? There were a few confused glances around the room as I finished my question. With no answer, I looked first to Orlando, then to Oswin. Wait, was that what he meant? Was that what he was after? You're going to need to be more specific than that, Dave. The guy who, he was interested in the vault, but thought it was a time machine. I saw Oswin's nostrils flare at the mention of the time machine, and he grunted in annoyance. It's not a time machine, but it being described that way makes it abundantly clear who sent that rabbit. What exactly is the vault? It's a bit beyond me, but shows you how you die, right? Not exactly. For the most part, exactly how and why it works isn't important right now. The important part is that Dave can use it, as can Orlando's father. Then fuck it. Give it to the guy. Like hell, I'll let you put Dave in danger just because you won't. And you're going to do what exactly? I'll have you know, I'm not exactly too keen on handing over a machine like that to a crime boss. Then Tyson had to concede that giving anything to a crime syndicate wasn't a clear-cut good or bad idea. But it's not a time machine, right? What's the harm? You're an intelligent boy. You tell me what someone could do with a machine built around quantum mechanics and morphic resonance. I saw Orlando's hand eagerly shoot up right around the time that sly grin came up on Roswell's face. Morphic resonance, huh? I don't get it. Someone explain what exactly it is. Well, it might not be a time machine, but a machine that could give you something like psychic powers. I found myself glancing around Roswell and Oswin, while Tyson seemed to be trying to understand the explanation. Roswell. Being able to jump between realities, stuff like that, the good stuff. That's not how it works. I noticed Orlando sheepishly putting his hand down while Oswin fumed. Roswell clearly pleased with himself. No, well, it's something close to that anyway. But essentially, imagine being able to look into the future, to where you might be in danger. Imagine how useful that'd be. I suppose I'm not going to get a thoroughly explained version unless I do it myself. But now is hardly the time. So, Orlando's dad they're the bad guys? I'm not, I promise. He's very different from his father, from my interactions with him, so unless he's a very good liar, I'm fairly convinced Orlando's heart is in the right place. Okay, so where does that leave us now? Orlando's family wants the vault. We can't give it to him because Dave can use it if he's in trouble. What? Because Dave can use it, he's in trouble. Okay, but on top of that, at least one of us is in danger. Not only that, we can't leave because we do then, one of us will still be in danger. Yeah. But if we make it through to the end of the month, we're safe, right? That's right. My interest is seeing you through to the end of the month alive as well. I may not show it, but I do genuinely wish you all to survive. Then what happens now? We can't contact the police after what happened. Otherwise, I'd say we should do that. If my dad is behind this, well, I can't contact him either to tell him to stop. Would it be that easy? No, I suppose it wouldn't. In the meantime, we have Benson as useful asset to keep us safe. I'll start shoring up what defenses I can, although they'd mostly just be keeping tabs on if the doors are locked or not. Perhaps get a security system operating again. And what should we do? Stay safe, obviously. Are we going to be alright for food? What about if the worst happens? It wouldn't come to that, would it? It may, but you don't live in isolation like this without stockpiling a little bit. As far as food stores, we shouldn't need to ration for a while, even with the 9 of us present. There were sighs of relief all around, but we were left there, unsure of where to go next. I sat back in the chair and sighed out. It was out in the open now, and it felt good that everyone seemed to have context of what I'd been going through lately. I don't get it. Roswell speaking caught me off guard, looking over what to seem like thinking hard about something. If Dave can use the vault, that's fine, but how he's been using it so far doesn't seem very efficient, or at least, the system itself seems flawed. How do you mean? Think back to when you were at the vault and we came back in from the hedge maze, right? You had your notebook and you were trying to open it, right? That's right. There's two things wrong here. The first is that there's a door there, so there has to be something inside. If so, then what? And if Orlando's dad wants it because it's a time machine, then does he not know what it looks like, or that there's a door? Why isn't he after what's inside? Hey now, we don't know if it's what's inside the vault, if what's inside is valuable, do we? I just went to Oswin, and he seemed distracted by something, having missed the implied question. Oswin, what's in the vault? He gave me a careful stare, one that seems to be thinking still about whatever it was that had distracted him. I'm not at liberty to say. Is what's inside the vault dangerous? Valuable at least to a crime syndicate? To someone smart enough, what's contained inside would be a great deal of harm, or a great deal of good, depending. I don't have faith that that Orlando's father would be one to do good, willing or otherwise, with whatever he found inside. And we can't just open it and destroy what's inside either? That solved one problem, at least. I'd consider it, but no, destroying it would ultimately do more harm than good. Of that, you can be sure. Okay, right. Roswell scratched his head before he continued. Then there's the second thing, right? Sorry, just taking a drink. Then there's a second thing, right? And that would be, if Dave used the vault, then what's stopping him from just grabbing a dictionary and just brute forcing options with every word listed in it? He'd surely find something that would work, right? Perhaps. But think about how many words that may be. Think about how long it would take him to type each one individually. As a separate issue to that, there's been some developments on the back end that puzzled me still. Like, how there are passwords that work that you didn't program in? Correct. There shouldn't be anything that slips by me, as far as anyone is using it. But the window of opportunity to program something in, and delete the entry after you've seen it, would be near impossible. Actually, it's literally impossible. Excuse me? You said it works of morphic resonance. If you're looking at this as the pseudoscience principle instead of work on science fiction, then anything that comes across is not even in this timeline. You'll do well to forget about different timelines, boy. Fine. Different iterations of the universe, then. But this only supports my suggestion that if Dave really wanted to, he could brute force passwords. Is that really possible? I'd do it if it was I would do it if it means keeping people safe. I can't deny the possibility, but there's a problem in Roswell's reasoning. Not as far as I can tell. Then allow me to explain. The vault won't show you your own death like Sal assumed. In fact, it's literally incapable of showing you your own death. And if we're in danger, Dave could just tell us and then we use that information to keep him safe in turn, right? Unless he's never in a position to witness those events on another timeline. The moment you create a scenario that is forced to come to pass on every further instance of the universe, you're dooming any potential alternatives you might be looking for. So I just won't go punching in words easy. But if you don't, then how are we meant to know who's in danger? It's worked at least twice as far as... It's a decision that Dave will need to make for himself. If anything, I'm not seeing anything as a good sign for the time being. Oswin went back to his meal a moment later, deciding that he was done talking, and a moment later, rising from the table. Such in the same way, everyone else started eating again, although the air was filled with uncertainty. I finished up eating and took my plate into the kitchen, not long after that. While the talk was nice, there was more still to come, and I was eager to get done sooner rather than later. I headed upstairs, figuring I'd make a beeline for the library. What I didn't expect was Oswin to already be there. So, now's a good time to talk, right? Are you sure that's wise, all things considered? The talk from earlier is likely still sending waves through your friends. It's sending waves through me. We're only halfway through the month, and now we have 2 solid weeks of wondering if we're in danger. True enough, I suppose. He remained near the window, looking out into the garden and the forest beyond. Is something out there? No, at least nothing I can see. I was just reflecting on how this was where I saw things happen on my way back to the lab. You were here? And then I tried to shoot the rabbit, yes. Thinking about him made me tremble, but wandering over to the window, I could see no sign of his white hair breaking the deep black of the shadows beyond the trees. If you want to have a chat now, we can. Here, or in the lab? Do we have any idea of that? Do we have any need of that level of privacy? The library would suffice if absolutely need be, but I don't think we do. With my brow furrowed, I tried to think, barely registering him walk past me to shut the door. Take a seat, Dave. If you don't mind, I'll be the first with my questions. You'll be free to ask as you wish when I'm done. All right. Excellent. Now explain to me how you came to find the viral samples in the syringe. Was it from your lab? Answer the question first. He stared at me, as intense as his tone, like a father scolding a misbehaving child. When I went into the forest, I stopped by the river and found it nearby. And it was exactly as you returned it? As far as I know, I didn't use it, if that's what you're worried about. I reached out... Oh, dear. I reached over and checked my head with a hand. No fever. Good. His hand lingered, though, and just looking at him told me his attention was elsewhere, staring off somewhere far away. Oswin? Yes, very good. I wouldn't think you'd have any reason to inject yourself with what was in the bottle anyway. What was in the bottle? I still have questions. Wait your turn. Fine. What's next, then? Did you see anyone else out there, or just who you ran into? Just him. And you're sure no one else? Positive. He scratches his chin, sighing out. I'd hazard to think that there might be others, but it's hard to say. Who we're dealing with isn't exactly bright. Sure, that's a good idea to make fun of someone like that? I've said it to his face, and I'd say it again. He only cares about his money and guns, just a much larger child, really, spoiled rotten by what I assume to be a life of luxury and poor parenting. Right. Okay. What? Well, I don't have kids, but I turned out all right, didn't I? So how hard could it be? I don't think I quite get what you're implying, Dave. Trust that I have. Some experiences, non-conventional upbringing, given the estate. Any other questions, before it's my turn? How far into woods did you go? I found an old watermill, went inside while trying to avoid him, and when he was following me the first time, I tensed up but stayed quiet. Waiting for a moment, I took my chance to to task a question when he didn't respond with something. Why? Why what? You know what? Why do you care about the mill? It's a dangerous place with very, very old, shall we say, fickle machinery, long since abandoned. Sure, but what does it matter if I found it or not? Is something there? No, but it does mark the furthest boundary of the mountain. If you went the other way downstream, you'd likely have hit a sheer cliff. Sure. What about the vial? What's specific about it? Was it yours? What was in it? With a sigh, Oswin adjusted his glasses and looked around the room. I'm not certain on the first. The second, however, I can confirm it's what's on the label. Okay, but what is it? More importantly, why are you being vague? I'm not being vague. I'm answering your questions, am I not? You're like half answering them at best, and it's annoying. Fine. Which the vial did say words I'm not gonna try. The truth of the matter is that it was more a straight sample of blah 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 blah, which is the relevant part to you is that it's a type of fungus. Among other things, it can cause, well, like the label said, a foam of words, which means it's one of yours. I had to run some tests, but it would appear that way. Same with the syringe? Correct. Was there anything else? Who took it, do you think? Pardon? Well, I figure that someone must have snuck in and taken it, right? Then used it out in the woods. Aye. It was the first time that I saw Oswin at a loss for words. He quickly shifted into the thinking mode, as if I wasn't in the room anymore. Oswin? He ignored me, stroked his beard, shifting between bewilderment, frustration, anger, and finally ending on something that looked like sadness only for a moment. Sorry, something I just realized. Realized what? Just whoever snuck in must have been very good at infiltration. It's a hard ask to get by Benson and myself in that area of the house undetected. Was it Thanatos? That sounds reasonable. He's a rat. He can sneak by. You know. And I don't know, that's my only thing. He's like the only other character we've seen. He doesn't have a portrait, but he's got a CG, so he's got that going for him. And Roswell? What about Roswell? Well, he was out in the woods. It couldn't have been him that took it, or maybe someone injected him with it. That's not possible, Dave. There was something about how he'd said it that just didn't sit right with me, almost like he didn't believe the words that came out of his mouth. Why isn't it possible? Roswell's smart. He could have found a way in, or Jack could have jabbed him with the needle when he was sleeping, or... First of all, boy, injecting yourself with that sample would have had a very dire effect on your immune system, something that you'd barely be able to recover from at all, let alone in a couple days like Roswell did. Make no mistake, I'm talking an infection in the body that is quite literally fatal if left unchecked, and something no mere doctor could have just cured overnight. Except for you. You have a lab downstairs and everything. You could just make a cure, right? Medicine is not magic. While I have a few potent things down there, as I'm sure you realize now, knowing what the sample was, carrying something that potent is a lot harder than inflicting it. So where does that leave us? It means that your suspect on who stole it is as baseless as any guess I could make at this moment. As who was injected, there's yet to be seen. Roswell doesn't show any symptoms. He rightfully should after a potential week of being injected. In fact, none of your friends do. Leaving us with the only logical conclusion that no one currently in this house was injected. No? I grumbled, not satisfied. He was right. or at the very least, everything he'd said made sense, but something in my gut was telling me that I had forgotten something very important. Not only that, we had no motive as to why you'd sneak in and steal that of all things. Okay, fine. Any other questions, boy? Is there anything we can do about the phone reception? Alas, no. Granted, contacting the authorities might help. I feel that given us a certain someone's involvement, they won't do us much good. So I'm still asserting that surviving the month is the best way forward. For you? For everyone. Unless you have any other ideas, I'm all ears. Grumbling, I tried to think of an alternative. I don't know. It's not the most ideal of circumstances, is it? No. It's just so frustrating. I looked at him and he seemed curious, staying quiet as I could continue. Why us? Why me? It's all just so unfair. Right. Well, regrettably, life is sometimes just that way. You may choose to wallow in how it goes unfair, or do something about it. I'll tell you now, I don't plan on dying anytime soon. And if you do, then I hope that me dying brings something of value to the rest of you to survive. There are few things worth dying for, Dave. Don't go throwing your life away on some noble quest to be a hero. And yet you're hoping that there's something to gain from you dying? What happened to surviving? I don't plan on dying, nor do I want to die. I'm just stating the fact that if it becomes absolutely necessary, I've already made my peace long before any of you arrived here. I see. I didn't know what else to say, fidgeting on the spot while Oswin continued to watch me. I felt like I hadn't gotten anywhere, but maybe it was just something that I had to think about for some more. There were clues here, but I didn't know how to piece them together, or what they meant. Would it be best to ask Roswell for help? Orlando? Maybe someone else like Sal or Dean to get a different perspective. I figured Tyson or Haas wouldn't be of much help outside of trying to make me feel better. But that's not what I needed right now. Okay, well, I guess just one step at a time. Agreed. He rose from the spot, and I followed suit. He opened the passage to the library and watched me carefully. Rest well, Dave. See you in the morning. One last thing before you go. Thanatos, right? What about him? I know he's, well, but can we trust him? Would it be worth asking him for his opinion on this? Why? He's someone else that, well, has some idea of what's going on, right? It's possible he may have some insights, but do you trust him as much as you trust anyone else here? What makes you say that? Well, he did play a part in distracting you long enough that I could sneak up behind you. I growled, baring my teeth. My hand went to the spot on my neck where he had ejected me, but he seemed to watch unfazed by how I was reacting. It'd be worth considering, but a talking rat is something, well, not many people would just accept as at face value. I guess you're right, but he's not staying a secret forever. Of course not. But until I can be sure he's not going to incite panic in the lab he stays. With that, he slowly closed the bookcase behind him and disappeared out of sight. I sighed, running my hand through my fur and wandering back over to the window. The night seemed calm and quiet, but I found myself scanning the shadows for any flash of white out of worry. What if he was just out there waiting for me again? What would he do to the others if they went outside as well? As I continued to watch the darkness, I could see shadows moving, nothing white in stark contrast to the dark, but there was something moving out there. My heart stopped for a second while I checked for wind and saw the trees swaying. Maybe it was just the wind. Maybe it was wildlife. Forcing myself to think that it wasn't the worst case scenario, I backed away from the window and headed to my room. Closing the door behind me, I collapsed onto it with a sigh. Things were looking up, right? We were making progress with everyone knowing stuff, and I was getting more answers to as much as I was draining. If anything, though, I wish I had the capacity to just figure it all out. So many things were just missing, and I just didn't know how the puzzle pieces were meant to be fit together. It was a good thing I wasn't a detective. It had been a long day, so I stared at my bed as if it was an old friend, ready to lay down and black out for the bit. But something felt off. A dull throb somewhere in the back of my head was hinting that something was wrong. If what had happened until this point was any indication, I knew I should at least try and do something about it. Oh. I was tired, but I felt responsible for trying to intervene in whatever bad things were happening. It was the only thing guiding me forward towards the basement and the vault beyond. As my footsteps hit the bottom steps, I froze, feeling the ground itself vibrate, a deep rumbling below, before the sound of a large explosion sounded from somewhere off. Climbing the rails, I looked around, frantic to see if the roof was coming down on us. The next thing I heard was everyone rushing into the foyer to see what happened. What happened? It sounded like an earthquake. It wasn't an earthquake. There'd be a lot more shaking and a lot less noise. Roswell helped me to my feet, and I turned to the other three. Is everyone okay? Us three are fine, at least. You? Stumbled a little, but fine. I turned to the other three, who were looking just as alarmed, but otherwise fine. And you're all shirtless. I mean, fine. Good to know you're fine. We're just about ready to go to bed before we all heard it, I'm guessing. I'm not the only one that... I assume that was an explosion, right? No shit. But why is someone blowing something up now? You're not worrying about an explosion at all? But we're all safe, right? So who... I trailed off, realizing dawning on me. It wasn't Jack that had set off the explosion, had he? Benson and Oswin marched into the foyer, looking around at the rest of us. Everyone all right? They look fine to me. Benson, go find what that was. Very well, sir. Wait. Why? What if it's, him, the rabbit? Calmly, Benson reached into his waistcoat pocket and pulled out what seemed to be a small revolver, jet black with a slim design, different from the one that I saw in my vision of his death. Worry not, I'm not planning to go unarmed. But I'll suggest keeping together for the time being, just in case the worst happens. Without breaking stride, Benson walked right out of the front door with his pistol in hand, closing it behind him. Are we just meant to wait here? I could make everyone some tea or something while we wait. Is that smart? Like to split off, just like that? As long as we stay together, we should be alright. Or at the very least, not going off alone. Alright, well, Haas, mind giving me a hand with tea? Is there anything we should do while we wait? We won't need weapons, will we? I do not believe so. Alright, well, I guess all we can do is wait it out. Benson's going to be alright too, right? All things considered, I believe he'll be fine. Even without a gun, Benson is more than capable. For now, it's as you say, we can only wait until he returns. As we did, the time ticked by while we waited for Benson to return. Some of us had tea to calm our nerves, but my eyes were trained on the front door. Listening to the sounds of a gunshot, or anything else that might give me a hint that danger was nearby, watching for the very moment Benson would come through the door, worried that he might not. Before I knew it, the front door opened again. We all stood there the moment that we heard the handle turn, assuming the worst, but sure enough. I have grave news to deliver. How bad is it? Benson put his gun away and stroked his mustache, looking at each of us in turn. There's no positive spin to put on this, but I'll put it plainly. The road down the mountain is no more. Gone? How? Are you sure? Maybe you just didn't see it properly on account of... I assure you, the road is gone, contributing a combination of a landslide and likely what we all heard through thoroughly destroying a large section of road. But how are we meant to get home? Will we be able to eventually? Like, is the danger that bad? Phones are out, road is gone. Something really doesn't want us leaving, do they? Is this my fault? No, of course not. Right, this is... Orlando sighed, rubbing his fingers through his mane. I don't know what this is. Well, all things considered, there's not much we can do about it now. And given the time and the lack of light, there's no safety to be had investigating it right now. It will need to wait until morning. And what are we meant to do? Just go back to sleep and pretend nothing was wrong? Regrettably, that's exactly what I'm proposing. Partner up if you need to be, if you need be. For the comfort of safety in numbers, I'll... He stroked his mustache again, thinking things over. I had a feeling I knew what he'd say before he came out with it. It stands to reason that someone should keep watch, and that person makes sense to be me. We can't ask that of you. We should take turns. And what would you mean to do? I am the only one currently armed, and given our potential assailant, it'd be best if someone trained were to deal with the problem, should it arise. But you need to sleep at some point, right? He flashes a tired smile before shaking his head gently. When you've lived as long as I have, you find yourself needing less sleep in the interest of enjoying what time you have left. Dean and Tyson nodded to one another, seemingly sold on Benson's choice, before heading upstairs. Roswell was soon behind them, looking thoughtful. Then Haas after he gave Benson a careful look. Are you really sure? I really don't mind staying up if need be. Don't worry about me. I have things I need to attend to anyway. This just gives me a chance to do it, and it won't impact keeping you all safe. Sal reluctantly nodded and made to leave, pausing to take Orlando by the hand. Oh, that's cute. Until he was following upstairs on his own accord. It's at the point that I noticed Oswin was just gone. Having moved on already to bed, I assumed. Run along now, Dave. It's all right. Yeah, all right. Good night, Benson. Good night. See you in the morning. Giving Benson one last look, I headed upstairs, hoping that he'd be all right. I wanted to head to bed to just lay down and get some sleep, but I found myself going on autopilot towards a different room instead. In one motion, I opened the door and closed it behind me by my foot. Dave? My reply came in the form of just marching forward and hugging him tightly around the chest, almost clinging desperately to him. It was the second time that I'd done this in a couple days, but I didn't care. He was the one thing that I thought of when I needed comfort, and I needed that now more than anything else. His hands found my shoulders and patted me gently, possibly still stunned from how suddenly I barged into his room. Hug me back properly. He peeled my arms from around him and wrapped his arms around me in the same way I'd done him. Better? I hugged him back around the neck, rubbing my cheeks against his and sighing out. I'm scared. Yeah? What if... Hey, it's fine. I'm scared too. We squeezed each other before I pulled away enough to look him in the eye. Can I stay with you? Just for tonight? Why the fuck would I say no? I don't know. God, you're hopeless. He let me go and wandered away to turn off the lights, watching as I crawled into bed and leaving the covers pulled back for him. Once the lights were off, he crawled in next to me, and I lay flat on his lay flat on his back, staring at the ceiling. You gonna be all right? Yeah, not the first time we've shared a bed. Won't be the last, probably. Meaning roll the fuck over. He flipped me over so my back was to him, and he cuddled me close from behind, pressing himself so as close as he could. He sighed out quietly next to my ear and lightly rubbed my chest. Good night, Dave. Night, Tyson. Soon after that, exhaustion caught up with me, and I fell asleep in the arms of who mattered most to me at the moment. Okay, and that'll end this part. Hope you all enjoyed. See you next time.